Oh, the heater's really on. Anybody hot? It's hot out here. Yeah. Hot out here? No. Okay, we're okay. Before I start, I wanted to share this card I got, and just got it on my desk today, from the Blue Santa program. And they're offering great thanks for everything. And some of the bears here, I remember sitting right here, because they collected over 300 bears, and 224 of them were from us. So we really did a good job. But they also collected toys, clothes, shoes, gift cards, wrapping supplies, stuffed 350 stockings with 100 pounds of candy, helped wrap over 200 presents, and it's fun to see the police officer dressed up as Blue Santa in a blue uniform. I'll put this in the back and you can take a look. I just love that program. So 2 weeks ago, Reverend Sue presented the beginning of our 4-month focus on Wayne Dyer's book, Your Sacred Self, Making the Decision to Be Free. In some ways, freedom can feel as easy as what Janis Joplin said. Freedom is just another word for nothing left to lose, if you remember that song. But it's really like living in a higher dimension where we're not connected with being really important, self-importance, or depending on things to make us happy. For me, freedom is living on purpose. And at this time of my life, when I'm not working for a corporation anymore, I'm really into this metaphysical philosophy called the science of mind. And greater freedom for me is finding a higher way of finding self-awareness in this teaching, because my desire, like all of our desires, is to be happy. So I co-create my world with love. I'm paying attention to what's important to me. And you know, at 72, it's probably about time. Science has proven that the creative process begins with our mind, and it goes where our attention goes, because we're all energy. Energy goes where our attention goes. That's the creative process. Dyer writes that when we recognize how the creative process works, that our thoughts and beliefs are energy which attract like energy, then as we focus the energy of our mind, we're in the driver's seat of our life. No one or nothing else. But he said it's also important to recognize the beliefs we've accumulated in the subconscious mind, and it might be possible a few of those are negative. Did somebody say yes? Negative beliefs and opinions have really piled up over the years, and we forget that they're lodged back there in subconscious mind. And sometimes we wonder, where did that stress come from? Where did that fear come from? He believes if we really want to be free, it's important to recognize those beliefs. Call them out. Call out the ones we've accepted. Sometimes we've accepted them without realizing it. But those beliefs that don't fit into our desire to be free, it's time to let go of them on this sacred journey. Release of those beliefs is important because we've accumulated them in our personal history. And as Damien said in the Ramana Maharshi quote, what's to be done? We know where we want to be, but what's to be done? So Wayne Dyer looked at the 10 most common negative beliefs in society, and I typed them up for you. And you can look at those, maybe make some notes, or take them home and go, is that really true? Did I buy into that one? We'll consider some of his suggestions, too, on how to rewrite those beliefs, kind of like rewiring our mind. So the number one belief, it's the number one belief in society, and I know you know this one, that more is better. No matter what we have, there's always something else that we want. For Paul, it's about every third year a new car. But maybe it's nicer clothes, maybe it's taking a trip, maybe it's more money. And if we believe that more is better, it's kind of like we're constantly striving for something else. And that striving never ends. How can you find peace when you're in an endless pursuit of something more? Good thing to think about. I was in the dentist office recently, and they have all these magazines because you have to wait a little bit, and they have People Magazine, Vanity Fair, Glamour, all these magazines that make you feel inadequate to some degree. Do you know that? You look at what the stars are wearing and you go, that dress cost $3,500. It would look really good on me. You're like, oh, it's crazy. Why did they dress this way? Well, maybe they're like, looking at me, look at me, look at me. See how important I am. So those magazines are interesting because many people want to look cool or different and hot or not cold, but they want to be loved, basically. But when something else is better, our spiritual journey gets sidetracked. Because sometimes our spiritual journey isn't, I want more of that. It just kind of comes along and gets relegated to the corner of our mind. So it's possible to abandon the allure of what's possible, of what's popular, and find greater serenity inside with accepting that it's okay to say no. It's okay to say no. The second most popular belief is eternal, it should be eternals, something or someone to blame for the conditions of my life. Maybe it's a relative, maybe it's a parent, maybe it's teachers in school, maybe it's a politician. Maybe it's just bad luck. But sometimes if we're looking out of for someone to blame, it becomes an endless list. Very self-defeating. Because when we blame someone else, we give them control over our life. That's not very spiritual, to give someone else that kind of control. And when we give them control, we abandon this sacred journey. The opposite of blaming someone for our life is self-responsibility, becoming an inner-directed person. We are the creator of our life, and there is a loving presence within and all around us. So it's important to let go of the blame game and be thankful for those who anger us. And I say that because when someone angers us, it has tapped something in us. It has tapped an anger in us. So through all these ways of looking within, we can return to being centered and return to love. The third most popular belief is idealism can't coexist with realism. I don't know if anyone has ever told you to stop dreaming. Be realistic. At some point, you may have had a dream of wanting to be a singer, a dancer. I know I did. A teacher, a scientist, and then someone that you highly respected said, "Get real." Whack. It could stop you in your tracks. But the truth is, it was all their perception. But sometimes when we're young, we buy into it. Dyer suggests that we make a list of all those things we really believed we wanted to do. Draw pictures about them. Think about them, dream about them. And then we watch for little coincidences that are out there. Little ways that, the creative process is at work. It might not make you a stage dancer in the Rockettes or anything at this point in life, but it might give you other opportunities like line dancing. Who knows? I love line dancing. So keep the vision of what you want. Keep it. Meditate on it. Think about it. And then watch. Pay attention to your life. One of Dyer's examples is he went to Florida one time to get away to write another book. And when he got into his hotel room, he realized he forgot his tape player at home, where he had already made notes about this book. So he was very frustrated. So he called his wife and he expressed his frustration. He unpacked and he could see the tape player on his desk, and he went to sleep with it on his mind. In the morning, he got up to start writing, turned on the lamp on the desk, and the light bulb burned out. So he said, okay, I know there's divine design here. I'll just call housekeeping and ask for another bulb, which he did. Well, someone's at the door, and it's Cliff from housekeeping, and he had a replacement bulb. Well, he started looking around at the desk, and he realized who this person was. It was Wayne Dyer. And he said, Mr. Dyer, I always wanted to read your book, Real Magic, but I just haven't gotten around to it. But he said, here I am now. I'm bringing you this light bulb. Isn't it a coincidence? And Dyer said, well, wait a minute. And he gave him a copy of Real Magic that he had with him. He said, it's not a coincidence, it's the power of your mind. Then he asked Cliff, do you know any place I can get a portable tape player for a while, a day or two? And he goes, of course I do. It's in my car. He said, I've had it there for weeks. And this morning I asked myself, why in the heck is this player here? I never use it. Now, is that bizarre? The power of our mind. So watch for coincidences. Number 4, there is only one existence, and it is physical. I have met people like that. But here's how he says it. Before the invention of the microscope, we had no idea there was life on our skin, in our hair, that there were little microscopic things living on us and in us, doing, he says, dances of zillions of creatures all throughout us. We had no idea. But we're alive with activity, and every cell in our body is communicating with every other cell in our body. We are an energy body and a physical body. So he says to recognize this, pay attention to the energy flow. Slow down. Maybe do a love your body meditation. I love those. Just sending love to my kidneys, sending love to my heart, to my liver, to my stomach, and I actually feel energy waves when I do that. I can feel it. So we aren't just physical. We're full of energy, a body of energy. Number 5, we're separate and distinct from everyone else. Hasn't every teacher told you that? You are a unique individual. There's no one like you. You are separate, unique, and what does that mean? You're disconnected from the rest of the world. The truth is we are all one, just as in Twyla's spiritual mind treatment. It's the first step in our prayer, oneness. We are all one. In the Hindu scripture called the Rig Veda, here's a writing from that. I really fell in love with this. Truth is one. Sages call it by various names. It is one sun which reflects all ponds. It is one water which slacks the thirst of all. It is the one air which sustains our life. It is the one fire which shines in houses. Colors of the cows may be different, but their milk is white. Flowers and bees may be different, but honey is the same. Systems of faith may be different, but God is one. And as the rain dropping from the sky winds its way to the ocean, so the prayers offered in all faiths reach the one God who is supreme. What I take from that is the one thing in the 10 Commandments that we can practice immediately. Love thy neighbor as thyself. Number 6, it's us versus them. This is related to oneness, but it shows up in almost every part of civilization, us and them. Us could be our family, our community, our nation, maybe our immediate family, and we're against all of them. Or it could just be our spouse, feeling very lonely that it's only us in the world. Them could be our neighbors. It could be our coworkers. It could be politicians. It could be anybody, or it could be a different country. I remember during the grueling days of the early 80s, the spotted owl controversy, if anybody remembers that. Boy, what a hot button issue. And at one point, a group of environmentalists from the Applegate Partnership near Ashland, Oregon, came to Redding to meet with industry representatives, and that time I was one of those representatives. One of their leaders walked into the room, a room highly filled with tension, had this huge button on, and it said they, and it was surrounded in red with a slash in it. There is no they. You know, you could have heard a pin drop. The people that were walking in argumentatively saw that. There was no anger in the room that day. It was really magical. And I honor him so much for doing that. That simple badge, there is no they. It's really healing to feel our connectedness, because when we do, we can open up and say things that we wouldn't otherwise say to one another. So you might pay attention this week how often you use the word I or we and them or they. Just kind of notice it. Sometimes we're amazed how self-centered people are, ignoring the rest of the world. And if it's us and we're all one, how do we consciously recognize that in all we do? Well, I really like belief number 7. Petty tyrants should be ignored. Sometimes we feel that should be true. But in fact, those we judge as evil can teach us. Sometimes they teach us our greatest lessons. For anybody that comes into our life, in any capacity, have value in our life, otherwise they wouldn't be there. Because there are no mistakes. So a tyrant is just as divine as any one of you in here. They're just as divine as anyone who gives you courage or support. Emerson put it this way: the whole course of things goes to teach us faith, and the whole course of things is everything and everybody. It's all here to teach us faith. Then I wanted to argue with belief number 8. Goals are essential for success. Wait a minute. Don't we have to know where we're going before we'll figure out how to get there? And I said, no. Living a spiritual life does not mean setting goals and strictly following them, because we're always in the presence of a loving guidance. The path of the spiritual life is not linear. So it's important to be quiet occasionally and really listen, really pay attention. Ask a question and let yourself be guided. You may hear a new avenue, a new path, a new way. As this banner says, when the student's ready, the teacher will appear. So there are times in our life to be willing to listen to different ideas and to be willing to allow things to happen. Just allow them to happen. We can relax about the future and simply be ourselves and allow us to be propelled in the direction that Spirit's drawing us. Being a goal setter, that's a challenge. But I love the way he put this. I'm going to work hard around that. And Paul said, well, what about if you're a golfer and you have a handicap of 86 and you want to improve? You want to improve to a new goal number. I said, well, I wouldn't set a number. I would just say, I want to improve. Okay, Spirit, help me improve. Help me find new ways, a new swing, a new hitch, a new gitch, whatever, and help me with my golf score. And pay attention. That's what we're talking about. I remembered when I graduated from Ohio State, my goal, I went 3 years, all year long. I wanted a 3.0. Whew, I got a 3.1. And then the goal director in me said, why didn't you ask for a 3.5? And I thought, at that time, I thought it was harder than, it was difficult to get a 3.1. But would it have been really that hard had I focused on it and thought about it and prayed on it? Of course, I wasn't a metaphysician at the time, so. But there it was, 3.0, 3.1. It was the creative process at work. And then belief number 9, you must always do your best. But the fact is, nobody can explain what your best is. You can't identify your best, because it always could be better, right? And if we think we have to do best, it's our ego talking, because our ego is going to sit there and say, did someone else see that I did my best? Am I going to be judged for not doing my best? So what is this all about, doing your best? Who's judging us? Have we turned control of our life over to our ego? It's important to just be in the present moment. There's no need to measure ourselves, because what we're trying to achieve is something that's really unmeasurable. If we're just allowed to feel peaceful while we're doing what we're doing, it allows a new, fresh energy to surface, and we feel more energized, and we can do better. That's the best, allowing the energy of spirit to work through us. And then there's number 10, dreams are not reality. Now, I know a few people who could argue with that, because most of us are taught we have a waking reality and we have a dreaming reality, and they're separate. But Dyer feels that there's simply two aspects of our waking reality, and that in our dreams, there's a shift from shapes to a shift to energy. And if you have an inkling that that's true, it's fun for some people to follow their dreams. I always wake up and say, boy, I had this incredible dream. I was going through this mall and I was trying to find the bathroom. Or I was going downtown and I was looking for a bathroom. It's kind of a weird thing, but that is probably half of my dreams. I'm on a journey to find where I need to get to go. Oh, that's a weird thing to say. Okay. Sorry about that. Oh, gosh. Oh. So if you have an inkling that any of these 10 things are in your subconscious mind that are part of your beliefs, get a hold of a practitioner or a minister. Let us help you carve a new road in that subconscious mind. We do that through spiritual mind treatment, which is our form of affirmative prayer. I'm so glad that we can transcend negative thinking. We can. It's not a part of us that we can't get rid of. You know, Greg Lavoie is going to be here next Sunday. Fantastic national speaker. You're going to love him. And then after that, we'll go further in Wayne Dwyer's book, and the subject will be the 4 keys to higher awareness. So this is a magical time of the year. Higher awareness and how we can think of that and then use the tools that are not these negative beliefs. Because freedom's just another word for nothing left to lose. To live in a higher spiritual dimension, we're not concerned about self-importance. We're not concerned about being praised. We're not concerned about having more. In the present moment is where we find the gift. It's where we find true inner peace. So I'd like to pray about that. Because there is only one of us. We're made of stardust. We have the energy and the cells and the particles of everyone and everything in the universe. And as we recognize that, it's nice to feel more, better, different. It's nice to have more. It's nice to feel better. It's nice to feel different. But when we realize our commonality, there's no need to shout out, look at me, see what I've got. But there is an opportunity every day, in every way, to connect on a new level with every store clerk, every person you see, every person in a class you take, and let each one reveal their true nature. It's a wonderful journey of love and appreciation for the truth. So I know for myself and everyone here today that I have a greater awareness now what might be tucked in my subconscious mind. And I know where I can improve that through prayer, through consultation with ministers, through reading, through taking classes, through just sitting in nature and just absorbing the energy. So I know I'm never lost. I know there's never a question that does not have an answer. I know I am loved from the deepest level of energy in the universe. I know this for you, and it's the truth. And I give great thanks for this teaching. And as I live and try to abide by it in greater and greater ways, I can't help but be happier, comforted, love, and at peace. And so it is. Thank you.